Good evening. Welcome to NTD News. I'm Paul Graney. Here are today's top stories. Mailing out 500 million at-home virus test kits and sending 1,000 troops to hospitals. That's what President Biden plans to do in response to the Omicron variant. Florida is on track to kick Chinese investments out of the state's retirement fund. It's one of the largest in the country. And a group of Chinese students at an American university are protesting. They say the school's defense of a Chinese communist regime critic has offended the entire Chinese student body. But some suggest that behind the protest lies the long arm of Beijing. In Silicon Valley, local police attempt to negotiate with a man who barricaded himself in an RV this morning. Police reported that the man had some type of weapon. And the Biden administration gives the green light to build solar energy farms on 90,000 acres of land. It's part of the president's plan to shift away from traditional energy sources like coal and oil. President Biden is announcing new measures to deal with the rapid spread of the Omicron variant. Part of the plan includes mailing out 500 million virus test kits to Americans and deploying an additional 1,000 troops to help its staff hospitals. NTD's Allison Lee has the details.
Good afternoon.
President Biden on Tuesday announced his winter plan amid the rise in Omicron cases. The plan has three main parts: increasing support for hospitals, boosting access to free testing, and getting more people vaccinated.
The federal government will purchase 1/2 billion, that's not million, billion with a B, additional at-home rapid tests with delivery starting in January. We'll be getting these tests to Americans for free.
As part of the plan, the Pentagon will send an additional 1,000 troops to help staff officials. 6 additional emergency response teams with more than 1,000 personnel will be sent to 6 states, and FEMA will provide more supplies to hospitals. Another big part of the plan is setting up more vaccination sites and deploying hundreds more vaccinators.
We have added 10,000 new vaccination sites on top of the 80,000 sites that we already had in place. And even more will open in January.
The Biden administration will also set up new federal testing sites. The first of such sites will open in New York City this week before Christmas. Omicron now makes up around 70% of all new infections in the country last week, up 6-fold from the week before. Allison Lee, NTD News.
And Florida Governor Ron DeSantis is moving to take back control of the state's massive pension fund. That's from the hands of private asset managers who invest part of the money in communist China. Here's more.
Governor Ron DeSantis said the move looks to protect the state's investment. He cited the non-transparent nature of Chinese companies and their potential involvement in human rights abuses. Those problems mainly deal with Beijing directly, but are also linked to Chinese companies. That's because many of them work with Chinese police and the country's military system. The Florida governor ordered the state's retirement system to check how much investment it has poured into Chinese companies. He's also revoked voting authority on those decisions from outside fund managers. In a statement, DeSantis said, "If you look at how these major companies behave when faced with Chinese disapproval, they censor what the CCP tells them to censor, and we see groveling apologies."
I think that the U.S. As a whole should be disentangling from China, but certainly our investment should be disentangling.
Florida currently has the 4th largest state retirement system in the U.S. It holds more than $200 billion in assets.
I think what I'd like is, one, to have the SBA survey the investments that are currently being done. I know most of our stuff, we're probably very little in China compared to where some other states are, but still, I think it's important that people know that. And then when the legislature comes back, they can make potentially statutory changes to say that this Communist Party of China, that's not a vehicle that we want to be entangled with.
In recent years, the federal government has also tightened the rules for investing in Chinese companies deemed suspicious. The Treasury Department keeps a blacklist of companies that it says support China's military. and American investors are banned from buying those stocks. Even so, a lot of American savings end up funding Chinese companies through U.S. state and pension funds. According to U.S. government data, the state of California has poured more than $8.4 billion into Chinese securities since 1992. That's followed by the Alaska Permanent Fund Corp. With more than $2 billion and the Teacher Retirement System of Texas with more than $1.1 billion. Other U.S. states with major investments sunk into China include New York, New Jersey, Colorado, Wisconsin, Kentucky, and Ohio, among others.
And students getting harassed for criticizing Beijing or for supporting free speech. Sounds like a situation you may see in China, but it's actually happening here in the United States. NTD's Iris Tao brings us more.
The president of Purdue University is asking those who suppress free speech on behalf of Beijing to continue their education elsewhere. This comes after a Chinese student criticized the Chinese Communist Party online. He was then allegedly harassed by other students from China on campus, who threatened to report him to the Chinese authorities. But now, an online petition with over 1,000 signatures is protesting President Mitch Daniels' criticism of the alleged harassers. They say it's xenophobic and targeting everyone of Chinese nationality.
I don't want them to collect my information and report to Chinese government.
Tao Ge, who uses a pseudonym, is a Purdue University alumnus who's an outspoken online critic of the CCP. He says he fears being identified by the regime if he shows his face. But showing conversations in the Chinese student chat group that he's in, Ge says the petition is part of Beijing's long arm.
These type of things looks like independent. It looks like from a single Chinese students, but it's not.
He says it started and circulated by a group called CSSA, or the Chinese Students and Scholars Association at Purdue University.
They are controlled by Chinese government, and they are the people who control, who like monitor the Chinese students in the U.S. and see if they said something against the CCP.
A 2020 report by the State Department says there are 150 CSSA chapters on U.S. campuses. It says they're created and overseen by the Chinese regime. The purpose is to monitor Chinese students and mobilize them against views that dissent from the CCP's stance. Meanwhile, Ge points out the petition uses a narrative commonly used by Beijing to divert attention.
So it's nothing about the racial discrimination, but they want to mix everything together and just let you cannot focus on the topic itself.
President Daniel says those who harass the outspoken student Zhi Haokong will face disciplinary action. He also criticizes Beijing sending secret police to threaten Kong's families in China. While the Chinese student group is protesting over Daniel's words, Ge says he appreciates the president's effort.
He tried to protect his students, his Chinese students who speak something in the U.S., and he also protects the freedom of speech in the campus in Purdue University.
Meanwhile, a different petition is calling for Purdue University to expel the students who allegedly harassed Kong. It's collected about 20,000 signatures. And Ge hopes more students like Kong can stay unintimidated and freely speak their minds in the U.S.
So don't be afraid for that. So just stand up and just support what is true, support the right thing and against the CCP.
Ge also calls for the U.S. to further restrict student groups that act on behalf of the Chinese regime on American campuses. Iris Tao, NTD News.
A federal jury in Boston today convicted Harvard chemistry professor Charles Lieber on all 6 charges. They found that Lieber lied to authorities about his ties to a Chinese state-run recruitment program and filed false tax returns. The university in Wuhan had been paying Lieber $50,000 per month plus $158,000 in annual living expenses. And California police are investigating a shooting that took place on Monday. Police are asking members of the public to contact them with any information that may assist in the investigation. NTD's Cynthia Kai has more.
San Jose police say they are investigating an apparent isolated shooting that occurred Monday evening at Oak Ridge Mall. Police say around 6 p.m. Monday, they received reports of a shooting inside the mall, just outside the Forever 21 store. Police escorted upwards of 5,000 people outside of the mall.
That search took, I believe, upwards of close to 5 hours. We did not locate a suspect. We still have not contacted a victim.
Police confirmed they found shell casings from a handgun. On Twitter, police confirmed one person was shot.
We still have investigators going out to the mall today, conducting some follow-up investigation. We spoke to mall management this morning. They relayed to us it's business as usual for them. The stores are back open. Again, business as usual at the mall.
They are investigating surveillance video but are not yet releasing footage.
This was an isolated incident. After the investigation, it was not an active shooter by definition. It was an isolated incident between two individuals. One individual produced a handgun and fired several rounds.
Camarillo says it was lucky that no bystanders were hit. Cynthia Kai, NTD News, California.
And also on the West Coast, police were in a standoff against a man in an RV this morning. The man reportedly brandished some type of projectile weapon at people. Negotiations went on for at least several hours. NTD's David Lam went on the scene.
I'm here at the UPS Center where police are responding to an incident from earlier this morning. Now, as you can see, there's a lot of police set up, and there were even tactical negotiators trying to speak to the man in the RV who apparently barricaded himself. Now, I spoke to a man who says he's the father of the person, and he said that he doesn't have a real gun and that he has mental issues. As you can see, the man is also talking to police right now. Now, there are nearby businesses, but they don't seem to be heavily impacted other than the traffic closure on the streets.
At about 7:45 this morning, we received a call of a male brandishing some kind of a shoulder-fired projectile weapon.
The incident happened outside a UPS center in San Jose.
I'd like to highlight that every time that we have these types of calls and every time we have incidents, we always attempt to lead the individual towards a path that brings peaceful resolution, and that's exactly what our officers are doing today.
He might have an airsoft rifle in there or something, but I heard somebody tried to rob him. A couple homeless people tried to rob him.
Cognetti told NTD he's the father of the individual who lives in the RV. He wasn't able to speak to his son, but he says that his son is scared.
Brian's 27. He's a good boy. He's a good kid. Never been to prison, nothing like that. And
locals said they've seen the individual many times.
Anxious all the time. When somebody walks up to him, he gets tensed, like scared, you know what I mean? So, mental issues, that's what I think, yeah.
A police spokesperson said there were no injuries involved at the time. David Lam, NTD News, California.
And a California restaurant chain was broken into 5 times this year. The police are now working with them to catch the culprits, and they also have advice for business owners to avoid becoming a victim. Here's NTD's Eiling Ang with more on the story.
Local Bay Area restaurant chain Noodle Talk has had its 3 stores broken into 5 times this year. 2 locations suffered 1 break-in each, while the restaurant in San Jose was broken into 3 times. The last time it was broken into was Thanksgiving.
We have to replace our new doors, and then we have to close our business. The looting happened again and again, so our worker is really worried about their safety at their workplace. And then as the customer, our customer is considering their safety eating at our restaurant. So our business rapidly jumped.
Burglars usually strike around 3 to 4 in the morning. Lena said it costs about $250 each time to replace the shattered glass. The burglars do not take much either because they don't keep a lot of cash in the restaurant as people pay with credit or debit cards.
The first time they got like $20. Second time they only a couple coins. And then the last time they really got like $40 because we raised the money in our cash jar. We don't want they break it and the other stuff.
She said they are thinking about reducing hours, but that would mean less business. They have been working with the police to pursue the case and hope to see results. The restaurant is one of many businesses that were broken into in 2021. Another business owner fears that her bubble tea shop will be the next target.
I'm really worried about the next store. It will be me. So that's why we're here. We want to ask the government protect us. We want the police officer protect us.
They blame Proposition 47, which reduced some felony charges to misdemeanors for the break-ins.
Top 47 under $950, you don't have to go to jail. So people just do the free business by themselves. They just need a plumber and then stealing your money. And then you cannot do any punish to them. If you do something to them, you probably will go to the jail. So I can't believe the law is for the normal people. It's not for the criminal people.
At a crime prevention forum between business owners and law enforcement, police say they can't make laws, only enforce them. But they do encourage people to report a crime, even if the amount stolen does not exceed $950.
Burglaries in San Jose are still a priority. So when somebody calls in and says someone is breaking into their house or into their business, it is a huge priority for the police officers. There isn't one police officer that doesn't start going that direction if they're available.
They have advice for businesses to stay safe.
They like easy targets. So if you harden your facility with doors that are steel reinforced, with bolt locks, with deadbolt locks, and with adequate lighting, with surveillance cameras, with alarms, the hope is that the criminals will go to another business. They like the path of least resistance.
More police have been stationed in the area since the break-ins. They encourage businesses to report any criminal activity. Eileen Ang, NTD News, California.
At least 6 CVS locations will close next January in downtown San Francisco. The closures come after an announcement to shut down a wide range of stores nationwide. NTD's Jason Blair has the details.
CVS announced in November that they are planning on closing 900 stores nationwide. They stated these will start happening in the spring of 2022, but some closures will be happening earlier. The first CVS store to close in San Francisco will be January 7th. After that, 5 more stores will close, and San Francisco will have 15 stores remaining open. In December, the California Attorney General spoke at CVS to announce the prosecution and sentencing of people who stole goods from Bay Area retailers, including CVS, Target, and Walgreens.
I'm here this morning to announce the sentencing of multiple individuals involved in what we believe to be one of the largest retail theft busts in California history.
The president of the California Retailers Association said the companies have called for action.
I think some of the bigger national chains are frustrated because we've been sounding the alarm that this issue is getting more and more dangerous.
CVS did not state if the closures were related to widespread retail theft in San Francisco. Prinzing said that CVS will offer comparable roles at new locations. Now I'm out front of the CVS location here in San Francisco, which will be the first one to close. The company said all prescriptions will be transferred to nearby CVS pharmacy locations, and these services will continue to help people have uninterrupted access. Jason Blair, NTD News, San Francisco.
And the Kellogg strike is ending. The company said today workers have voted in favor of a new contract. It offers better terms for transitional employees and across-the-board wage increases. It ends an 11-week stalemate between Kellogg's and workers at 4 cereal plants. The 1,400 workers who were on strike will return to work next week, but during the strike, the plants were run with salaried staff, temporary workers, and some strike breakers. Kellogg's also said at the time that it plans to hire permanent replacements for the striking workers. And the United States is on its way to building solar energy farms on 90,000 acres of land. This would be a shift from the previous administration's focus on more traditional energy sources like coal and oil. NTD's Montgomery Reno reports.
Part of President Biden's plan for America is countering climate change. To make this happen, the administration is moving to build more solar energy farms, which would cover about 90,000 acres of land altogether. That's about 140 square miles. The administration calls these farms solar energy zones. This project would be developed on public lands in Colorado, in Nevada, and in New Mexico. These farms are supposed to power parts of the country and lead to a reduction in greenhouse gas emissions. According to the Bureau of Land Management, if these farms are built, they could generate enough electricity to power more than 29 million homes. Solar power on public and private lands generated about 2% of U.S. electricity in 2020. That year, fossil fuels and nuclear energy combined generated about 80% of U.S. electricity. At the moment, the Bureau has only nominated land for the 90,000-acre project, but it must be approved before construction begins. The Interior Department on Monday approved 2 solar farms in California. Miguel Moreno, NTD News.
And up next, to tip or not to tip? Most of us feel like we're supposed to tip when we go to a restaurant, but a group in New York City wants to change that. And New York City remains one of the top tourist attractions for the holiday season. NTD shares what locals like best about Christmas in the Big Apple. Do you tip when you go out for coffee or dinner? Most people say you definitely should, but some New Yorkers don't agree with that system. NTD's Arian Pastor was at their rally in Manhattan.
Congresswoman Maloney joined advocacy groups here at this restaurant in Lower Manhattan. They're calling on New York's governor to implement a higher minimum wage for tipped restaurant staff.
I will join my voice in calling Governor Hochul to act with an executive order.
Since 2019, almost 20% of New York's restaurant staff has quit their jobs. According to the group One Fair Wage.
One fair wage!
That's mostly because they earn below minimum wage.
They are done. They are telling the industry, take this job and shove it. They are saying we will not work for sub-minimum wages anymore.
I asked Congresswoman Maloney if there could be other reasons for the high number of resignations since 2019.
It could be their health concern. Number one, they're on the front lines. They're on the front lines interacting with people, and that could be one concern.
She said she doesn't think that high unemployment benefits contributed to the resignations. Now, some argue that restaurants will have to increase their prices if they start paying their staff more.
That's all excuses. The rent goes every year. The water, the electric, everything is go every year, except when it's come to paying workers, they said, oh, the menu is gonna go crazy.
A restaurant owner who started paying his staff minimum wage told me it actually helps his business.
When you have people that work for you a long time and they know your business and they love your business, they're gonna help you grow your business.
Supporters of the tipping system say that customer service is better and staff can actually end up earning more. Arian Pastar, NTD News, New York.
And in the NFL, suspended star receiver Antonio Brown could finally suit up for Tampa Bay. Meanwhile, as college football players have cashed in recently on name, image, likeness deals, a high school quarterback is now following their lead. NTD's Dave Martin has more.
Jaden Rashada, ESPN's top-ranked dual-threat quarterback in the class of 2023, has inked a 4-figure deal to help promote the Athletes in Recruitment app via social media. Rashada, who just finished his junior season in Pittsburgh, California, and has yet to commit to a college destination, is the first known high school football player to sign such a deal. Meanwhile, in the NFL, Tampa Bay head coach Bruce Arians has indicated that 4-time All-Pro receiver Antonio Brown will be back with the team after serving a 3-game suspension for violating the NFL's COVID-19 protocols. Last year, Arians had said that there would be no second chances for Brown after the NFL gave him an 8-game suspension for allegedly assaulting a truck driver. In New York, the last-place Giants have announced they will shut down third-year quarterback Daniel Jones for the final 3 games of the season because of his neck injury. Jones, who was a first-round pick of the team back in 2019, was injured in the team's 13-7 win over Philadelphia on November 28 and hasn't played since. Finally, in the NHL, the league has announced they will postpone all but 1 game, Tampa Bay versus Vegas, on Tuesday night's schedule and pause the season 2 days early for Christmas because of COVID-19 concerns. This brings the total number of games postponed this season to 50, including 32 this week. Dave Martin, NTD News, New York.
And the Associated Press is reporting that the NHL will withdraw from the Beijing Winter Olympics. It's reportedly because the regular season schedule was disrupted by virus outbreaks. The source with direct knowledge of the decision spoke to the AP on condition of anonymity. A formal announcement is expected tomorrow. And some say the best time to visit New York City is during the holiday season. From the ice skating rink in Central Park to the Rockefeller Christmas tree, the Big Apple offers plenty of festive attractions to both visitors and New Yorkers. NTD's Jason Perry has the story.
New York City has long been a popular destination for the holiday season. With its tall skyscrapers and busy streets, people from all over the world come to visit this historic city. And during the day, the ice rink at Central Park is filled with a mixture of skaters, from experts to first-timers. And when the sun goes down, Christmas decorations light up the streets as people enjoy the view and get into the festive spirit. The trumpet-blowing angels and the Rockefeller Center Christmas tree are also main attractions for tourists and locals alike. Why did you want to come to New York City?
We wanted to come to New York because we have never been there for Christmas and New Year, and we only saw in movies and TV shows, like all the light and all the stuff and the shopping, and we wanted to discover it. So here we go, and you will love it. It's way much better than Paris.
So as someone who's from New York, what do you look forward to in New York City during the holiday season?
Days off from work. Like, it's a more relaxed atmosphere. People are trying to be happy. It's not as much anger as the normal everyday New Yorker carries. So, a lot of good things seem to happen during the holidays.
This year, the Fifth Avenue Association has decorated 9 blocks with holiday art installations. The illuminated sculptures include an iconic yellow taxicab with presents in the trunk. Christmas is on Saturday, and tourism is bound to kick right back up again when the ball drops in Times Square to celebrate the new year. Jason Perry, NTD News, New York.
And coming up, Chinese police are hiring private contractors to make hundreds of fake Twitter and Facebook accounts. It's part of China's campaign to shape public opinion overseas. And Beijing bars 4 U.S. officials from visiting China. That's as the CCP slapped tit-for-tat sanctions on the U.S. amid tensions over the Xinjiang region. Find out more after the break on NTD News.
Secure, the true solution for your digital privacy and security. Secure is a private and secure messaging and email solution hosted in Switzerland, using military-grade encryption and Swiss privacy laws, giving you true privacy. Secure is 100% private and does not collect or sell any of your personal data. Secure's Helix technology connects you securely to our Swiss servers without the need of a VPN, guaranteeing privacy and security for all your communications. Secure Messenger doesn't require your phone number or any personal data that hackers target. Chat by Invites allows you to chat privately and securely with anyone outside of your secure network without the need for others to download Secure. Secure Send offers you a private and secure way to email anyone outside of Secure. You won't find this level of privacy or security on any other email or instant messaging application. Visit secure.com. Regain and protect your privacy today.
You worked hard for your money. You invest in stability for your retirement and your family's future, to build and leave them with something greater. The next unprecedented financial crisis, political misstep, or unstable government can depreciate it all away. It was called the gold standard for a reason, the financial preservation of tomorrow. Diversify your assets against inflation, market volatility, and the unknown with real money. Hedge your wealth with the purest form of money, physical gold and silver. Because any currency printed on paper can be manipulated. What's backing up your IRA? Do what you need to do right now to be prepared with the Reagan Gold Group. Visit now, rggusakit.com, or call us at 866-912-1384. Receive up to $2,500 in free silver coins and a free safe with your new precious metals IRA. Call now.
Beijing is trying to boost its image overseas and distract from its human rights abuses. To do so, Chinese police are hiring private contractors to create fake accounts on Facebook and Twitter. NTD's Evelyn Lee has more.
A glimpse into the Chinese Communist Party's overseas propaganda campaign. The New York Times reviewed internal documents that show China's police force is hiring new contractors. And they're tasked with spreading propaganda on social media sites like Facebook and Twitter. Once hired, the contractors flood the digital platforms with hundreds of fake accounts. Those accounts then get put to work, helping drum up support for Beijing's authoritarian agenda. Sometimes the accounts back campaigns designed to boost the regime's image. In other cases, they refute accusations of human rights abuse against Beijing. Per the New York Times, the Shanghai police posted a notice in May seeking private contractors for what's called public opinion management. The police department requested that contractors provide accounts on overseas social platforms to purchasers at any time, noting that those platforms include Twitter and Facebook. It also notes that suppliers should provide about 300 accounts per month on each platform. Another document shows the price of a contractor's services after being hired by the police. It reflects around $780 a month as payment for registering accounts on foreign social media platforms, and another $780 per month to disguise and maintain those accounts. The most expensive service is creating original videos at over $6,000 per month. 4 U.S. officials won't be visiting China anytime soon. Beijing has barred them from entering the country due to tensions over Xinjiang.
China decided to implement reciprocal countermeasures in accordance with China's anti-foreign sanctions law.
On Tuesday, the CCP announced sanctions on 4 officials of the U.S. Commission on International Religious Freedom. The chairwoman, the deputy chairman, and 2 commissioners are barred from visiting mainland China, Hong Kong, and Macau. And Beijing will freeze any assets they have in the country, but it's unclear whether they have any assets in China. The measures are in retaliation for U.S. sanctions on Chinese officials over human rights abuses in Xinjiang. Beijing is accused of mass detentions, forced abortions, and other abuses against Uyghurs and other religious minorities there. The U.S. has also banned imports from the region that might be made with forced labor. China has denied the accusations, and earlier this year, the regime retaliated by calling for boycotts of foreign clothing brands. On the same day, China slammed the U.S. for naming a special coordinator for Tibetan issues. And the CCP also blasted a G7 statement on Hong Kong, saying that it, quote, reveals their hypocrisy and sinister intentions to disrupt Hong Kong and contain China's development. Earlier this week, the G7 foreign ministers expressed grave concerns over what they called the erosion of democratic elements in Hong Kong. That's after pro-Beijing candidates swept the city's legislative election over the weekend.
And over in the UK, the British Prime Minister today announcing the news many have been waiting to hear. He said there would be no new restrictions put in place before Christmas. Restrictions that could impact families getting together. Here's more.
So what I can say tonight is that naturally we can't rule out any further measures after Christmas, and we're going to keep a constant eye on the data. We'll do whatever it takes to protect public health. But in view of the continuing uncertainty about several things, severity of Omicron, uncertainty about the hospitalization rate or the impact of the vaccine rollout and the boosters, we don't think today that there is enough evidence to justify any tougher measures before Christmas.
As Christmas plans are given the go-ahead, the Prime Minister said the government would not rule out further restrictions if needed, and the situation remains finely balanced.
And how do we predict COVID-19 deaths? Headlines often highlight worst-case scenarios, painting a gloomy picture of the Omicron wave unless restrictions are tightened. But critics looking at the latest data say the pessimistic scenarios are off the scale. Here's NTD's Jane Worrell with more.
Doubling every 3 to 4 days.
Epidemiologist Neil Ferguson, known as Professor Lockdown, was recently quoted as saying there could be up to 5,000 daily Omicron deaths this winter. But some advise to take these assumptions, which come from scientific modelling, with caution. Recent modelling put together by the government's scientific advisory group shows scenarios relating to the Omicron wave, ranging from 200 to 6,000 deaths per day at their peak. Former head of health analysis at the Office for National Statistics says the high estimates are off the scale.
There is a range in there, but they don't tend to focus on the lower estimate. It's normally always the higher estimate. And what perpetuates that problem is that the UK media always jump on the higher estimate because obviously scary stories probably get more clicks on websites and sell more newspapers. So that's then the problem you have is for the vast majority of the public, the worst case scenario, which is very, very unlikely. And in this instance,
he says looking at the current available data, for there to be 5,000 deaths per day at the end of January, there would need to be about 25 million cases between now and then, assuming that Omicron is as severe as the Delta variant. To give some context, figures on Monday show there were just over 45,000 Omicron cases in the UK.
That would mean around 25 million cases between now and the end of January in the next 6 weeks. And cases are what we identify through the positive tests. We know there's more infections than cases because people don't have tests, and you can use some data that's been done to try and estimate that. And it's normally about just over 2 times the number of infections than there is cases. So those 25 million cases would mean 56 million infections between now and the end of January. So you're only as good as what your inputs are when it comes to modelling. And some of the modelling in the UK has been a bit awry, I would say, over the last 18 months. And some of the latest modelling that we've got just seems to be off the scale.
Jane Worrell, NTD News, London.
And an increasing number of protesters in German cities and towns every Monday opposing the government's COVID-19 policies. In one city yesterday, 10,000 people demonstrated against compulsory vaccination. Here's NTD's Joy Duguid with more.
Tens of thousands of protesters took to Germany's streets on Monday to denounce the government's tightening of COVID restrictions. Monday demonstrations have been a tradition in Germany since the late 80s, when mass protests preceded the fall of the Berlin Wall. In the northeastern city of Rostock, police say 10,000 people came out. The organizer says they want to speak out against divisions in society.
We are one people. It cannot be that after 2 years we have ended up in a situation where people have been divided into those who criticize the measures and those who support the measures, those who criticize vaccination, those who support vaccination. And now we have those who are vaccinated and those who aren't. This is unworthy of a democratic society.
People marched from the harbour to the city centre, causing major traffic obstructions. Many protested compulsory COVID vaccines. Germany's parliament recently made vaccinations mandatory for healthcare workers by March.
It's about us fighting for our rights. I am a carer for the elderly and I'm now being denied the right to work. But I would like to work. I feel that my whole personality is under attack. I feel discriminated against and it just can't go on like this. I won't accept it. And that's why I'm here every Monday.
Exemptions will be made for those who have recovered from COVID-19. The German Chancellor and Health Minister are in favour of a general vaccine mandate from early next year. A large police presence accompanied the demonstration, which remained peaceful. A group of protesters stood along city streets with signs bearing slogans such as "Compulsory vaccination is absurd and malicious," and "Anyone can think for themselves."
The measures that are currently being taken in Germany no longer have anything to do with Corona, but are simply about repressing the population. And Corona has been used as a pretext for this.
Police say across the state, twice as many protesters came out as last week. Joy Duguid, NTD News.
And a truck ran into a U.S. military vehicle on a highway in the German state of Bavaria on Monday. Local police described the collision as an accident. The military said there were no known injuries among U.S. personnel, but 8 soldiers were taken to a hospital for precautionary screening. The crash happened on the A3 highway near the capital of Newmarket district. The 7th Army Training Command said that an Army truck pulled over to the side of the highway after it was separated from the rest of the convoy. As it waited, it was hit by a civilian commercial truck. The collision resulted in damage to 3 U.S. Army vehicles. And still to come, today's the winter solstice, the shortest day of the year. We take a look at how cultures around the world are celebrating the first day of winter. And in one Siberian city, hand-rolled felt boots are warming up the icy Russian winter. A felt boot maker describes how he works to keep this tradition alive.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell. Cancel culture has not only affected myself and MyPillow, but millions of you out there. Before all this started, I had already written in my memoir, I dedicate this book to anyone that's looking for hope. Well, right now, we're all looking for hope. I believe that my story is going to bring inspiration and hope to everyone. By the time you're done reading my book, you will believe that with God, all things are possible. To thank you all for your support, I'm offering some of my best prices ever on MyPillow products, including this exclusive bundle. You get my book and these 5 MyPillows. They all have beautiful scenes and verses from the Bible, such as Isaiah 41:10. Do not fear, for I am with you. This 6-pack bundle is regularly $219. Now it's just $99.98 and free shipping with your promo code. Go to mypillow.com and use the promo code on your screen or call the 1-800 number below. Thank you and God bless.
You probably noticed it's been getting dark outside much earlier in the day, but you might not know that today marks the winter solstice of 2021, the shortest day and longest night of the year. NTD's Chenny Wu tells us how cultures around the world are celebrating.
This year's winter solstice falls on Tuesday, December 21st. It's the shortest day of the year and a sign that longer, brighter days are ahead. Let's take a look at how cultures around the world are celebrating the official first day of winter. In the UK, crowds gather for a sunrise ceremony at the famous Stonehenge. It's a tradition that has continued for thousands of years. Vancouver, Canada is celebrating the winter solstice with its annual Lantern Festival. The event includes lively music, dance, food, and spectacular lantern-lit processions. Japan is known for its baths, and the Japanese celebrate the winter solstice with yuzu baths, immersing themselves with yuzu, a winter citrus fruit. In the Chinese tradition, people celebrate Dongzhi, or the coming of winter. Families gather to worship the heavens and their ancestors. It's also a chance to spend quality time with family and eat some dumplings. These winter solstice celebrations remind us of the traditions of the past, while they have us look forward to a brighter future. Chenny Wu, NTD News.
And temperatures are plummeting across Russia. In one Siberian city, hand-rolled felt boots are keeping residents warm through the winter. A local felt boot maker is striving to preserve this traditional craft. Let's take a look.
Nestled in his Siberian hometown, Ivan Lapin opened his own felt boot workshop in 2010. The craftsman is one of the 9 masters keeping the tradition of felt boot making alive.
I have a big goal. Due to the fact that this craft has almost disappeared, I have a very big desire to preserve this Russian craft by all possible means and ways.
12 years ago, Lapin began learning the art and techniques of felt boot making. The process starts with sorting and combing the wool. A blank or base is first made for would-be boots. Then it's soaked in hot water and rolled by hand, a process aided by special tools like a chipper.
Handmade products mean the following. Here is the blank. Here's a chipper, a table. Here also is a hammer. Here's a wooden hammer. And just in case, this one is the hammer and the pads. Here are all the tools.
The wool fibers swell and shrink with temperature changes. Lapin says creating the goods by hand and without using chemicals better preserves the quality of the wool.
With our felting technology, wool remains alive. It lives for 5 to 7 years. It breathes. It's like a flower that blooms in the morning and closes in the evening when the sun goes down.
Around 40 assistants in Lapin's workshop help decorate the boots. One of them says wearing them can even improve the blood circulation in the feet.
3 years ago, I had an accident. I was injured such that I couldn't walk. They would put the boots on me without socks and take me for exams. After about 2 weeks, I began to regain feeling in my feet a little. The blood flow improved, and I slowly began to walk.
Aside from traditional felt boots and ankle felt boots, Lapin's store also features modern footwear with felt insertions. A pair of them cost around $20 to $50, depending on the model.
And in Ukraine, Christmas decorations made from straw have traditionally been a big part of the festive season. One woman has been making them for 30 years and challenges herself to create new designs every time. Now she's teaching the next generation. This story comes from NTD's Eddie Aitken.
Straw decorations are a big part of Christmas celebrations in Western Ukraine. Christmas spiders are one tradition that is making a comeback.
Traditionally, our spiders are composed of several elements. These elements are of different sizes. They are all assembled in one structure and therefore they become flexible. They are very dynamic. We can twist it in different directions or it will move on its own.
Marina has been making them for 30 years. Now the next generation is interested too. She's teaching Yulia how to make these traditional crafts.
For me, it is such a geometrical magic. You put a straw after a straw, very softly, very carefully, and finally you get such a beauty.
The designs are called Christmas spiders due to their appearance. According to legend, spiders are a symbol of wealth, and the webs are a reminder of the vanity of material goods. Marina says she never creates two identical spiders. There's something new each time. Her husband Andrei dries straws and cuts them with utmost precision.
First, I work on the main form, and then we look together with my wife and decide what could be added. It can be a flower, a bird, or an angel. It all depends on the mood.
Similar decorations are made in Poland and Lithuania, but they are woven in a single piece, whereas in Ukraine each element can be separated, making them more adjustable. Eddie Aitken, NTD News.
And a huge exhibition dedicated to German artist Albrecht Durer has opened in St. Petersburg. More than 400 engravings are on display to mark 550 years since his birth. NTD's Andrew Thomas has the details.
Intricate engravings by Albrecht Durer line the walls of the Hermitage Museum. He was one of the major artists of the Renaissance, and to mark 550 years since his birth, this exhibition is being held in his honor.
The last time Hermitage hosted a Durer exhibition was 50 years ago, when we marked 500 years since his birth. We have a vast collection of his engravings. We have almost everything that Durer has created in engraving. We also have his paintings. Overall, many things made by Durer are contained in Hermitage, and therefore it would be impossible not to make a Jubilee exhibition.
He drew from both the religious to the secular. Even in his biblical works, he portrayed interiors and clothing in the contemporary style of the 16th century. Durer experimented in a variety of drawing techniques using silver point, charcoal, black chalk, pen, and ink. He also worked in watercolor and gouache.
Durer was the first to do xylography and copperplate engraving simultaneously. He lifted xylography to the level of high art. After him, the approach to engravings changed. Before him, nobody could imagine making such fine art using engravings. This is the artist who changed this art.
One of the main walls of the exhibition is devoted to the Triumphal Arch, commissioned by Roman Emperor Maximilian I. At that time, it was the largest engraved composition.
The task was to create a very large engraving, and it turned out to be the largest engraving in the world, occupying around 10 square meters, and was printed from 192 wood blocks. The order was done at Durer's workshop. Maximilian was one of the first who understood the power of the printed word, of printed production and circulation. He understood that sometimes print on a fragile paper could be stronger than monumental buildings from stone.
The exhibition at the Hermitage will run until March 28, 2022. Andrew Thomas, NTD News.
And the Cumbre Vieja volcano on Spain's La Palma Island has been erupting for 3 months. And since then, the sales of a red wine that shares its name with the volcano have also been booming. Here are the details.
Life on Spain's La Palma has been difficult these last few months. But for one vineyard, the island's volcanic eruption has brought booming sales. Demand for a red wine that shares its name with the Cumbre Vieja volcano has skyrocketed since it began erupting 3 months ago. Head winemaker Carlos Lozano believes news reporting led to his wine selling out in La Palma, the Canary Islands, and even on the mainland.
After the volcano erupted, the distributor in Madrid asked us for the wine, and it has sold very well. As I said, it has been sold out. It has been a success in a way. While the volcano destroyed, it has also built something else.
For 86 days, red lava spilled out of the crater. It carved a destructive path through the ocean that buried thousands of houses and forced the evacuation of many more until the volcano suddenly went quiet last Monday. The vineyard was largely unaffected, but may have benefited from the volcanic activity.
The lapilli that erupts from the volcanoes, in particular this latest from Cumbre Vieja, which has been erupting for more than 80 days. All the ash that has caused destruction has also built up a very fertile subsoil for plants, in this case vines. It is a very interesting material, not only for its nutrients, but also for its capacity to retain water, water that is increasingly in demand, especially on an island, due to climate change. It is therefore a suitable material for maintaining and growing plant varieties that do not require a lot of water.
The volcano's recent inactivity has led scientists to say that the eruption may be ending, but they will not declare it officially over unless the lack of seismic activity continues to December 24th.
And after 18 years, Keanu Reeves and Carrie-Anne Moss take another red pill and head back to The Matrix. It arrives in theaters and on HBO Max tomorrow.
This is the moment for you to show us what is real.
After nearly 2 decades, Keanu Reeves takes another trip to The Matrix.
I remember this.
He returns as Neo in the 4th installment of the beloved sci-fi franchise, The Matrix Resurrections.
Have we met?
Reeves and Carrie-Anne Moss reunite as their characters are once again pulled out of their idyllic dream world, and the two actors couldn't have been more excited to take the journey.
Starting was really exciting, a little nerve-wracking, but it was incredible to be a part of and to make that film.
Yeah, it was so exciting. I was just, from the minute Lana called me and told me that there was a possibility of this happening, I just felt lit up from within myself at just the possibility of doing it.
Part of me feels like I have been waiting my whole life for you.
The pair had to undergo major training to get a new set of highly anticipated action sequences just right.
Yeah, I love that part of making a Matrix movie. Lana Wachowski creates an environment for us to be able to do all that we can do. So we have like a dojo where we're coming together every morning and stretching and kicking and punching and learning our different choreographed parts of the movie. And then in the afternoon, we tackle any other physical things that we need to do, like the building jump. We practice that over weeks of different heights to get to the point where we could
leap off a building.
Yeah.
My dream ended here.
That's all for today's news. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you tomorrow night.
Thanks for watching us on YouTube. Did you know YouTube only keeps selected videos on its platform? So if you want to make sure you get the full picture, just subscribe to our newsletter. Go to newsletter.ntd.com and sign up. It's free.